It's just coming up to 10 to 8. If you're just getting going and joining us this morning, this is NewsTalk Breakfast with Ivan Yates and Chris Donoghue. And you may have seen on the news last night that the British broadcaster Dave Lee Travis said that he had been through, quote, a year and a half of hell after being found not guilty of 12 indecent assault charges. The jury in his trial failed to reach verdicts on 2 other allegations against him. He spoke very briefly on emerging from court.
I had 2 trials. I had 1 trial by media and 1 trial by Crown Court. And I have to say, in all honesty, that I prefer trial by the Crown Court.
That was Dave Lee Travis speaking outside court. Well, he's talking about the media. He's talking about the attention that he got, and it's similar to the attention of Bill Roach, the Coronation Street actor, who was found not guilty last week, and also Rolf Harris, who is still on trial. In fact, all 3 men, their trials started on the same day. Joining us now is Paul Tweed, an international media lawyer. Good morning, Paul.
Morning, Chris.
Paul, because someone famous is charged with a crime, should the media back off, or is that just part of democracy and having free media reporting on justice?
Well, at least we haven't reached the stage that we have in the United States where you see criminal suspects being hauled out before the international news media in handcuffs, and then there are police mugshots making the front page headlines. But nonetheless, the recent episode in England where a number of well-known household names, who most of whom are in their twilight years, are being subjected to extensive and almost unheard of scrutiny in the press for criminal proceedings. And it does raise a question as to whether anonymity should be granted to the accused in serious, who are charged of serious offences, as well as a victim. I mean, the other side of the coin is that victims groups quite properly will say that, look, this sets an example. It encourages other victims to come forward if they see people, being charged and brought to justice. But the problem for the accused is that, as in the case of Dave Lee Travis, where they are found innocent, they have to wait, a year and a half at least before they get their verdict. And by then, their reputation has been absolutely destroyed in the media. And again, particularly in the current circumstances where it's almost been like a 17th century Salem witch hunt in many ways, and rightly or wrongly. I mean, I say if there are guilty people out there, they should be brought before the courts and shown no mercy at all. But the question is, do we wait until the verdict, until they've been convicted, or is it fair game just the minute somebody has been arrested or even brought in for questioning, as has happened in some cases?
Paul, critics would say holding back the media or curtailing the media further amounts to censorship. And justice, one of the principles of democracy is justice being seen to be done through the media. Is the problem in these cases not a step previous to that? The fact that police and the Crown Prosecution Service, the equivalent of the Director of Public Prosecutions here, brought these charges, brought it to court?
Well, certainly that's another serious question that needs to be addressed, and obviously I'm not in a position to comment on whether it was reasonable or not for these people to be charged in the first place. There's no doubt, I mean, that the general public perception is that there's sort of almost a wave of hysteria, and people are being caught up on it, and whether that affects the decision-making process in the powers that be, I don't know. That somebody else has to answer that question. But I think, we're now living in a different era now, the era of the internet. And the minute the publicity hits the front page of one of the national newspapers, it goes from Dublin to Singapore to LA in a matter of seconds. So, once somebody has been brought into this limelight, this adverse limelight, all of a sudden, I mean, the world have formed a different view of them. So there has to be some form of balance. I mean, the Louis Walsh case, for instance, was a prime example where he didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah, where he was falsely accused of a man of assaulting him in a toilet. Yes. Absolutely false, utterly false accusation against Louis.
And then within minutes, the allegations had appeared in the front page of the newspaper and then been beamed around the world by internet. So we are living in a different era, and I think we've got to stand back and ensure fairness. I mean, there's got to be balance. The victim's interests obviously have to be paramount as well, but there's got to be some fairness towards the accused, particularly in these circumstances where you're talking about crimes that are supposed to have happened many, many years ago. And I think cases, particularly those cases, require at least a particular and specialised look to find out, is this in the interest of justice all round?
Paul, thank you for speaking to us this morning. Paul Tweed is an international media lawyer on that Dave Lee Travis case. Not guilty. A second person, a second high-profile star. As I said, the third one who went on trial. Not connected cases, but coincidentally all going on trial starting the same day. Rolf Harris, that case is ongoing. We're back in a moment.